Hello and thank you for joining me in this build. So this is a build of two separate buildings. The first building is a cafe and the second building is like an office slash restaurant. And I originally started this because I wanted to make a cafe and I knew I wanted to have the curved walls be a feature. I looked online for some images. I also wanted to try something kind of like in a lofty style. I actually don't have any of the kits except for the one that was free. I think it's called Desert Luxe. So I don't have any of the industrial stuff. But actually, recently I've been a lot of no CC builds in order to make sure that whatever I build, I could easily share on the gallery for other simmers to be able to enjoy. And I actually slowly started to realize that there's quite a bit of variety in what the different Sims packs like offer. So for example, one of the builds that I did, I decided to make like a little like amusement park, and there's like a haunted house. And I was thinking, oh, how am I gonna make a haunted house? I'll just use the spooky pack, but I didn't need to just use the spooky pack. I used like the spooky pack. I used the paranormal pack that actually had a lot of interesting things in it. I think I might have, there's just a lot of odd little items in the game that actually, when you're trying to make something very specific, if you have a lot of packs, it starts to come together actually quite well. And I think I just hadn't realized that after a while because I just got used to using the same items over and over again. It was just an easy way of building. But now that, I'm kind of expanding and trying different, more interesting things like theme park, then I realized, oh, actually, there's some really interesting stuff here in the game, especially because you can use live edit and the debug items. All right, so as you can see, the cafe is coming together quite nicely. I used a few reference images, and I've also, kind of picked up tips from watching other simmers over the years as well. And this is one of the reasons why I like making videos, is because I think they serve as really good inspiration for other people. It's nice to find, how can I say, the type of variety that you can find is really nice. And so whenever, I'm sort of thinking, oh, I want to make a miniature, then I'll watch other people making miniatures so I can get some ideas. Or if I think, oh, I want to draw a portrait, then I'll watch other people drawing a portrait and I'll get some ideas. And the same thing goes for when I want to build in The Sims. It's not just finding images on Google. That's also one thing that I do. But I also look for or just watch generally other simmers and see the types of things that they do. And I see if I can replicate those looks or those techniques in my own builds. All right, so in this, again, I mentioned I wanted it to have kind of an industrial kind of loft feeling to it, which is something that I don't typically do. I think this might be actually one of the first of this style that I've ever done. And each of the little individual areas actually came together quite nicely. I would hope that I could fit a little bit more seating in here, especially if you use this. You could use it as a cafe, but I think it would also function as a restaurant because I did put some restaurant items on the top floor of the second building, which we'll see later. So if you didn't want that area to be used, I guess you could just delete some doors. Ideally, whenever you download any kind of build that has a multi-purpose, I guess we can just call it a multi-purpose build. It's a good idea to delete doors and things like that so that you can prevent Sims from going places you don't want them to go. But I think that this would work very nicely as a cafe. The other building is an office building, so there's a lot of things there that they might interact with unless you delete the doors. Okay, so as you can see, we're just working on a little bit of the outdoor seating. Now we're moving on to the bathroom. And the the reference photos that I used gave me the idea of the curved wall where those little white blocks are. It gave me that idea, and it also gave me the idea of putting the trees in the table. Now, this is something that I've actually done before because one of my earliest, I guess, things that I just did, one of my earliest habits, I guess I can call it, when I was making Sims builds was to actually do that. So I'd have like a dining table, and instead of putting a plant in the middle of the table, I'd put one of the flora plants in the middle of the table, so the top part was sticking out. I don't know why I did that, but I always thought it was cute. I do it every now and again, but It was something I did a lot in the beginning. So we moved on to the office building, and I wasn't exactly sure what kind of office I wanted it to be, but I just knew I wanted to carry that industrial look into this area as well. Because as I was looking for like industrial images, I didn't just get cafes, I also got other types of like, you know, places, and I thought, wow, this looks cool too. I've never actually done a build like this and I really want to try it. So I decided to carry the industrial theme into here. And I guess as I was building it, I was trying to develop a story behind it. Like why? Like why would there be this industrial, style cafe right next to this industrial style office? And I was thinking, probably the guy who, because I just started making things up in my head. This is just what I do when I do anything creative. I just start making a whole story, and there's lore and everything. So I guess the idea behind this is the guy who actually is the owner, the CEO, owner, and founder of this company is supremely successful, and one of the things that he wanted to do was have nice places for his staff to be able to relax. I envision that he's like a really down to earth kind of guy who thinks he's so cool, and he wants his staff to think he's cool too. So he does things like pay for like expensive vacations for his staff and things like that. And the restaurant was not necessarily meant to be public, but it looks like a public restaurant. My idea for it was, if you imagine this office building is huge, let's just imagine that. Like, it's like several stories more than it is here, then there would be a lot more people who worked there. If there were a lot more people who worked there, it would make more sense to have a staff canteen instead of a simple break room. So I was thinking it would be like that, like a rooftop area for the staff to just relax, to when companies do well, they typically have enough money to treat their staff well. And that's kind of what I was thinking about when it came to who owns this building and why, what do they do, and that kind of thing. So that was just kind of the idea that I had for this company, the person who owns it, and the property in general. But I wouldn't say that the restaurant has a very industrial feel. It does feel kind of separate from the rest of the build, because I think when I was first deciding what I was going to do, I hadn't really fleshed that part of the story out. And so it was still just supposed to be a restaurant. But one of the biggest problems behind making it a restaurant was that it's on the top floor, and I couldn't figure out how to get the public access to that area. And so, as I'm building and as I'm thinking, those two thoughts kind of melded together. So it looks like a public restaurant, but technically it's not. And if it were possible to build on more floors in The Sims, of course I would just duplicate the floors, and it would just look like a regular office building with, a nice rooftop garden, basically. Or like, rooftop cafe or whatever. But yeah, so this guy, random sim guy, owns this property, and this is just his idea. And so this is what he wanted for his staff. And I think I might have mentioned before that the cafe would be open to the public, and the cafe is just simply there, but the staff also can go there. They get like a discount or something like that. This is what I'm kind of imagining this property to be like, and I would love to work for a company like that. I like when companies take care of their employees. I think it really does a lot to boost motivation. And when employees are motivated, like, they tend to produce better work, and that's what I'm all about. I'm just all about people being productive members of society, and people supporting each other in society, and making sure that everybody is able and capable of having nice things. And we can only get that if we're treating each other well. It's basically how I feel. So these are the back rooms of the office, and I was considering, where is the break room going to go? Do I really want to flesh it out and have it be like a real office where there's storage and like a back office where they can like store their paper and stuff like that? And in the end, I did decide that, but I figured it's not the most exciting thing, so I'm pretty sure I didn't record myself doing that, because I don't always record every bit of what I do in my builds, because first of all, it makes the video a little bit too long. And I think that, those little small areas, the back offices and things, are not what people are really looking for. So I tend to cut those out, even though they're always in the builds. So whenever you watch me do these, always just know that there's almost always going to be something that I don't show you. So there's always going to be something for you to look forward to seeing when you download it. Like, oh, I didn't know that she did that. Sometimes it's the basement, but not very often. But, you know, in other cases, it's just another room on the floor. You know, like the public bathrooms, I don't usually show. Security office, I don't usually show. You know, any little back rooms, I don't usually show. But since this is an office build, I might as well show these little meeting rooms, the little conference rooms. They're basically identical. Sometimes I'll do this and then I'll just wait and copy and paste. But sometimes copy and pasting can be a little annoying. And also, I like to make the rooms look a little different. So sometimes I'll like twist a chair or something and I'll like put some like different items on the table so it looks like it wasn't copy and pasted. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. One of the things that I wanted to try was to make it a bit more of an open space. I know that in The Sims, a lot of the builds that you find either on the not on the gallery, that come pre-existing in the game, they're big. They're like huge, and I'm like, nobody. It's too big. And actually, this is a terrible thing to admit. I don't always play test my builds. Most of what I do when I build is just to achieve a look, and if I achieve the look, I feel like it's successful. I don't like playing the game, if I can just be perfectly honest. I just like building in the game. Playing the game becomes incredibly frustrating very quickly. I think there actually are a lot of things to do in the game, but in terms of having fun, for me, building is very fun. Experimenting is very fun. It used to be getting new packs and being able to try new things with the items that I would get in the packs. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, do you actually get excited about the gameplay? I know one of my biggest faults in the beginning, and I know a lot of simmers are very not happy about people like me who just indiscriminately buy any new pack just because they want content. I didn't used to use CC, so if there was a new pack, I just thought, oh, there's new content, I'm just going to buy it when it's on sale, because I'm kind of a cheapskate, and then I would just buy it and I would just use it. But I was just indiscriminately buying literally anything that they came out with as soon as it was on sale, and I didn't realize that the gameplay was as lacking as it was, and I do kind of feel bad about that for like supporting the team for so long, and they're basically just recycling items. I mean, that's one thing that I did notice, not only with Cass, but also with with the build buy items, that sometimes they'll just be duplicating things, and it's like, really, guys, it's so lazy. It's like you already are repeating the same actions with the gameplay, and now you're just gonna start repeating the items and the clothing as well. Like, come on, guys. It's kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. In any case, this is the main office. It's on the third. I'm pretty sure it's at the third floor. I think I only made this building 3 stories. And it's really, really close to the restaurant, which I'm starting to make at the moment. And again, the restaurant kind of looks like it doesn't really belong in this building, and I mentioned before why. But yeah, and I think that one of the things that I was thinking, like as I was building, this guy who like owns this place wants to be able to manage everything, but he also wants to be able to oversee everything. And so that's why he chose to have his office be on the 3rd floor as opposed to on the 2nd floor where the main office is, or on the 1st floor, which is where the sales area is. Oh, I never mentioned that. I guess that is useful. So the idea behind this place, as I was making it, is that it's basically like a fabrication kind of place. So on the 2nd floor is where the designers and the marketers kind of work. And then on the 1st floor is where they do sales. So you'll see that there's an area, like a little display area, like a showroom. Yeah, it's like a showroom style. So you'll see some of their quote unquote products that are on display. And then there are those little tables with the computers. That's basically where the salespeople are. All right, so here is the restaurant. You can see it's quite big. It was bigger than I expected. And I was like, I knew I wanted to make a little seating area to make it look more like it was kind of like a staff, like relaxation area, and not just like a restaurant. Because honestly, by the time I got up to this floor, I was like, the stairs are in 2 different areas. There's no place to put like a fake elevator like I love to do. I usually put fake elevators in all of my builds. It's just a door with a ladder. But there was no room to do that here. And I'm like, I can't make this a public restaurant, really. Not unless I want to make ugly stairs, like, huge stairs on the outside leading up. I don't really want to do that. So, I just kind of, it looks like a public restaurant, but the idea in the end is that it's a place for the staff to go. And I would really hope for this to be a taller build so that it would make more sense, because not that many people work there. In the size of the building that it is right now, you can tell that, they don't need this big, restaurant. And you would not have people going through that, the public basically going through those, people's workspace in order to get to this floor. That doesn't make any sense. So it is what it is. But yeah, so I think I mentioned before about how this guy wants to be able to oversee everything. And so being on the top level makes it a little bit easier for him to surveil. He has these nice big windows as well. And, so whenever he needs to go out, he's able to go to the first floor or the second floor and the first floor to check in on his employees. All right, so here is the build in its finished state. We can see the two buildings together. Here are the interior shots of the cafe, which I think came out okay. Not exactly to my liking, but better than nothing. Better than if I hadn't tried, I guess. Okay, and I like this a lot better than I like the cafe. I have no idea why, but I just think that it's super nice. I don't know, I just would love to work here. Oh, this is the area I was talking about where their quote-unquote products are on display. And the customers can come and walk around and take a look. And here is the rooftop restaurant, which is really, really nice. Actually, the atmosphere is super nice. I like it, but it's kind of weird. The orientation of the building. So here are the floor plans of first floor and the second floor and the third floor with the roof restaurant. And that brings us to the end of the video just about. I'd like to thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in another one.